So, I was wrong about Donald Trump. I was completely wrong. Last summer, fall, I did a video where I basically speculated that Donald Trump by March of 2018 or so, certainly before the summer of 2018, would be out of a job. I thought that he would be fired, or he'd resign, or however you want to put it. I thought that he would be forced out of office because at that time his presidency did not seem to be going very well. In point of fact, it seemed that it was going very, very poorly, as a matter of fact. So in my defense, at the time, it seemed reasonable. Now, what I didn't calculate or think or realize is that Donald Trump, for all his flaws, and he has a number of very serious flaws, but for all of his flaws, he has a couple of qualities that are remarkably good or useful for a politician. And specifically, the quality that he has most, and what I've been noticing about him, is his ability to improvise and his lack of political memory. Now, and this is something really interesting. You see, what do I mean by improvisation? Well, because, see, he doesn't have a plan. That's clear. He does not have an overarching plan or even more than the vaguest of directions of where he's going. Okay, that's very clear about his attitude, about how he goes about everything. He's improvising second to second. And what's interesting, like all great improvisers, like all great musicians, see, Donald Trump looks at the moment. He doesn't pay attention to the past. He has virtually no political memory. He never looks at the past. It's always the moment. He's always looking at the chessboard at that particular moment and improvising the best move for that particular moment without thinking of the sunk cost that has led to that particular position. Now, this is really, really interesting, and his enemies don't understand him because of it. My thinking is that he has no political memory because he's got the attention span of a fruit fly, right? It doesn't really matter why he has it. It could be that he doesn't have an attention span of a fruit fly, or it could be that he's just this, very, in the moment kind of guy who's just paying attention to the moment and never ever looking to the past. It doesn't matter. But what happens, because he has no political memory, he never falls for the sunk cost fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy is actually a terrible one. It's the reason that the Vietnam War became a quagmire. The sunk cost fallacy is basically, if you invest some time or an effort or money into a given situation, you don't want to lose what you've invested. So you start throwing more money, more time, more effort, more resources into that particular problem instead of just cutting your losses and walking away. Donald Trump is a master of cutting your losses and walking away. It could be because he has internalized the notion of the sunk cost fallacy so within him that he doesn't fall for it. It could be that. Or it could be that he has the attention span of a fruit fly, and so he forgets how much has been invested in any given situation and just looks at the moment. Regardless of the reason, the effect is the same. And the effect is that he is paying attention to the moment and never throwing good money after bad, throwing good resources in terms of time and effort into a situation if it's not going to pay off immediately. And also, he is paying attention to the moment. He's not looking to the future, only to the moment. So he makes decisions that if you're paying attention to the future, you'd be very leery of making. But if you're paying attention to the moment, you make them without a hesitation. A specific example, in the Kim Jong-un negotiations, at one time the North Koreans sort of like threw a hissy fit and, we're not going to go, blah, 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 we're offended, blah, blah, blah. And Trump said, okay, we don't have the summit. And within a day, Kim Jong-un was like, no, come back, please, let's have the summit. Within a day. Because Trump wasn't paying attention to the future. He wasn't trying to get something in the future. He was just looking at the moment. You see what I mean? It's remarkable. And I honest to God, cannot tell if it's because the guy is just a very slick operator, or like I said, he doesn't have the attention span of a fruit fly. It's known that he has a very low attention span, okay? So it's a reasonable inference to think it's one or the other. Now, which one is it? Who knows? Do I think he's a genius? No. Do I think he's a very good politician? Yes. I think he's made some mistakes, specifically the budget. I think that the budget was catastrophic. The budget was catastrophic because it cut taxes to corporations and the wealthy, when at this point in time, with the income and wealth disparity that we have in the United States, we should be amping up the taxes. I also think that the budget is going to lead to tremendous budget deficits in the not too distant future. I'm talking 3 to 4 years. And especially in an environment where interest rates are starting to rise, the interest payment portion of the budget deficit is going to get bigger and bigger. We're going to reach a Minsky moment. If you don't know what a Minsky moment is, look it up. It's very interesting, and it is germane to the current issue. But other than that, his presidency has been really good. I'd give him a B+ overall. So I was totally wrong. I was totally wrong, and I here freely admit it, because some people have been asking me about it because I did a video about this, right, last year. And a few commentators have asked me, well, here I am. I'm admitting I was wrong. And I don't have a problem with it, okay? Now, this is important. This is important, and this is the point of this video, really. Now, my admitting to the fact that I was wrong about Donald Trump, okay, is trivial. I mean, I'm nobody. I mean, who gives a shit about my opinion? I'm a minor YouTuber at best, right? It's the lesson to be learned from it that's important, okay? Now, I did a video some time ago called What If You're Wrong? And you can find it right here. Now, in that video, I talked about the problem of what happens if you realize you're wrong in an argument. But this video, this second part of this video, is sort of like a complement to that. You see, the issue is never ride a hobby horse. Now, what is a hobby horse? A hobby horse, technically, is, those little wooden horses at the circus, in the ride. It's a little wooden horse that goes up and down on a pole, and the whole thing spins around. It's a ride for children. Now, a hobby horse is also a fixed idea that you have. To ride a hobby horse is to maintain a fixed idea and to defend it against all contrary evidence. Now, last fall, I thought to myself, given the evidence at that time, I thought it was a reasonable inference to think that Donald Trump was going to resign come the spring, summer of 2018. Here we are in the summer of 2018, and he's sitting pretty in the White House, right? I was wrong. Now, if I had been riding this hobby horse, that is, insisting that he's going to resign, what would I do? I'd simply push the date back. I'd be saying, oh, well, he hasn't resigned yet, but he will. You just watch, he will. And I'd push the date to December of 2018 or whenever, right? He's not going to resign. In point of fact, it seems pretty obvious at this point in time. If he continues the way he has been going so far, it is likely that the Republicans are going to make out very well in the midterms, and in 2020, Donald Trump is going to be reelected very, very handily, okay? At this point in time, that's what it seems like, okay? But so I'm not going to make any prediction. Maybe my predictions are jinxes, so, Anyway, point being, you see, if I were riding a hobby horse, I'd be insisting that he is going to resign. That's the problem that the left is having right about now. See, they keep insisting that he's a horrible human being, that he's like some evil Hitlerite guy, and they try to latch on to anything that's going on in order to prove this point. They are riding a hobby horse. They are unable to look at reality. The reality is that his presidency, Donald Trump's presidency, has been remarkably effective. You can think what you will of the man. I don't hold the guy in the highest esteem, but, I got to give the guy credit. Either by accident, luck, happenstance, or deliberate maneuvers, his presidency overall is very good so far. And it looks like into the future, it will continue to be quite good. So to be arguing and saying that, he's an awful president, he's worse than Hitler, and blah, 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 it's just a hobby horse. It's foolish. You have to look at the reality, okay? And never ride a hobby horse. Because what's going to happen to the Democrats? What's going to happen to the leftists? You see, if you ride a hobby horse, you're going to be completely marginalized because people are going to realize it eventually. People are going to realize, like they're realizing with the Democrats, right, that if you continue to smash your head against reality, denying reality, denying the fact, like in this case, that this president is fairly effective and fairly decent at his job, if you keep denying that reality, people are going to take you less and less seriously. They're not going to pay attention to what you say. They're going to listen to you and say, well, he's just on his hobby horse again. You know, he hates Trump, and so, you know, just don't pay attention to him. Don't bother with him. Just ignore him. You see the danger of riding a hobby horse? You see the danger of sticking to a fixed idea no matter what? I had an idea that Donald Trump was not going to be able to survive politically. The facts proved me wrong, so I changed my opinion. I got off that hobby horse. It wasn't a hobby horse that I was very attached to, but you know, I got off it publicly. You do the same. You see, you do the same. Never have people identify you with a hobby horse. Never let them think that you are riding a hobby horse, because if they do, they're not going to take you seriously. Never allow your thinking to embrace a position at all costs. Because if you embrace a position at all costs, no matter the evidence, then it's not only that people will not take you seriously, it's that you will cease to grow as an individual. Because you only grow by way of change. If you get on a hobby horse, if you decide on a particular idea, a fixed idea, and refuse to change it, no matter the evidence, you yourself will cease to grow. You will have reached your ceiling as a man. And you never want that to happen. Not if you can consciously avoid that. You always want to be expanding your limits as a man. You always want to be growing further, becoming a bigger man, a greater man, in every sense of the word. If you realize that you're wrong, accept it. Accept it with humility. Accept it with humility, a little bit of a sense of humor about it, and move on. Don't shackle yourself to a hobby horse. If you shackle yourself to a hobby horse, it's going to be so sad, because that will be who you are. And you don't want that to happen. If you shackle yourself to a hobby horse and you don't allow new information to enter your worldview and change your mind, then the years that you'll have ahead of you will be just waiting around for death, for actual death, because your mind will have already died.